Diane, let's welcome you in at this point because, of course, whilst there's plenty of money for the weapons and the bombs and the ammunition going into Israel to help it perpetuate its attack on Gaza, we've got an NHS that is in absolute chaos in UK.
Yes, very much. Thanks, Brian. And hello, everyone. It's good to be here today. I wanted to follow up on a couple of things. First of all, from May of 2024 was the first time that UK Column covered this issue of the new hospitals that are meant to be put around the country. But this tip-off recently came from a viewer in Consett, County Durham, up here where I am in the northeast of England, concerns about the local hospital that is going to be replaced in his town, or that, at least that's the plan, apparently, to do so. The existing hospital in Consett is called Shotley Bridge Community Hospital, which opened in 1912. The NHS says the problem is that it leaks heat. Now, the new hospital is meant to be built near this site of this sculpture called the Terrace Novalis in Consett. This consists of two measuring instruments, a theodolite and an engineer's level. It's very, very large, and it's meant to mark the watershed between the upland and the moorland landscape and the extremes of the industrial age. The significance of this is that Consett, as an old steel town, was once Europe's largest steelworks, and this landmark is very important. Another concern is that in addition to the corruption and the waste that might be happening with this hospital, which we're going to look at, this is happening around England, by the way, is that it's possible that this landmark could be in danger, as well as the beautiful land that surrounds it. So after I received this tip-off, I went to do a little bit of a little photojournalism myself. This report comes from this photograph, which is part of the new hospital site, apparently, which has been confirmed last month by the BBC now, that the construction of the new hospital will be taking place. It's near a big retail park area where the old steel factory used to be. So here's a couple of photos, both from the different areas of the engineering site where they're basically doing testing on the ground. The council has previously said that the ground is not satisfactory for building, but I guess they're doing it anyway. So what's happening with the overall story of the hospitals around the country is a particular concern. This in particular is Project Genesis, which took over Consett years ago. I think it was in the 90s when the steel factory closed, and the Genesis project took over to try to do something with the city. So this is 1945 when the steel factory was still in operation. You can sort of see the area kind of in the middle, sort of off to the left of the town where the houses are. And if we go forward to the next view that Project Genesis provides in 2024, we can see that there's more housing that's taken over most of the steel factory. You can see the big buildings there that are the retail park. And the new hospital is set to take place to be built over the green space to the sort of the left of it. Project Genesis has taken over, as I said, a lot of the city. But the problem is that when we look at this from a wider perspective around England, we start to see the problems and how this might be taking place. If we go back to 2019, the general election, it was part of the manifesto for Boris Johnson to think about, what we're going to do with the hospitals. There he is in October of 2020 with Build Back Better, of course, in the background, because we're going back to this time when he was saying that this would be built as a package worth £3.7 billion for 40 hospitals at the time. This was called the Health Infrastructure Plan, said to be the biggest hospital building program in a generation. And the Shotley Bridge Hospital in Consett was going to be part of this at the time. Just to quote Boris Johnson to see where we were in the timeline, saying this, the dedication and tireless efforts of our nurses, doctors, and all healthcare workers have kept the NHS open through this pandemic. But no matter what this virus throws at us, we are determined to build back better and deliver the biggest hospital building program in a generation. And then Matt Hancock, of course, came in and supported him to say that. So we can see that there's lots of policy documents and so on from the UK government, which can be available in the show notes. So I won't go into too much detail. But by the time we get further into 2020, he says that we're going ahead with the hospitals. And there were lots of things around health boards around the country, different trusts talking about this. So I believe we now have a video from a GP speaking from the Lancashire area, and he was talking about this new hospital program.
I'm Jeff Jolliffe. I'm a GP here in Barrow-in-Furness, part of Lancashire and South Cumbria. and I'm also the chair of the CCG in Morecambe Bay. I sit on the clinical oversight group for the New Hospitals Programme. What is it, the New Hospitals Programme? It's a great opportunity, isn't it? It's a big lump of money to redevelop our hospitals. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can't miss it. It's going to be great for the population. New Hospitals Programme might seem to not mean much to primary care, but it's actually vital, isn't it? Because we care for our patients, and our patients need good hospital care as part of the whole pathway. So there will be a huge knock-on benefit to our patients, and therefore to the way primary care works. An eye to the future, with more care closer to the patient's home, more care in community services, and we need to focus on doing in hospital only what we need to do. In addition, they provide an environment that is better for staff, better for patients, and an environment that patients flow better, so you end up with better outcomes. But assuming we get the money, and I'm hopeful of that, we can then start the process of identifying which is the best solution to spending that money. There's a big process, so it can't happen overnight, but we'll get there and we'll have them.
So that all sounds nice and lovely. So that was 2021. If we go forward a bit to 2023, we start to see the reporting coming from the government saying that this is now 20 billion pounds. It was just, I think, just a few billion previously. So now we're talking about prioritizing the rebuilding of 5 hospitals that were using reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, rebuilt by 2030 as part of the New Hospital Program, because they're saying that this material was not basically fit for purpose and that it was going to fall apart. So they identified 5 hospitals, as well as many other hospitals around the country, that needed to be built. So this new building, which again is going to include this hospital here in County Durham and many others, is using what they call standardized design that will harness digital transformation, making the use of latest technology for the benefit of staff and patients. And it's sustainable, contributing to net zero carbon across the NHS. So that's fabulous news, incorporating learning from the pandemic and ensuring hospitals can adapt to changing health needs. So this is how they're selling it in 2023 under something that they call Hospital 2.0, which is a standardized design for future hospitals, which will benefit patients and staff through digital solutions and optimized hospital layout. This will decrease the time needed to develop and build hospitals, as well as reducing the cost through economies of scale. So what we're seeing is what we've reported before in UK Column, that there's a trend towards digital management of health, less focus on physical space, less focus on human connection and the nurses and the doctors who support people. So going forward now to 2025, we are now seeing with Labour and Power. And what we're seeing is a report that came out. Basically, they did a review of what the Conservatives did at looking at the New Hospital Program. So we have a quote from this policy paper that was published in January this year from Wes Streeting, our health secretary, saying the NHS is quite literally crumbling. And that's just one of the sentences. I just wanted to highlight that. The report itself, basically what they did is an evaluation of where we were with the hospital situation in England, to make it sort of prioritize what needed to be rebuilt, what was the most important thing to do, using a multi-criteria decision support analysis tool to look at which hospitals need to be prioritized and what could wait. So the map here, again, you can see this again in the policy documents yourself if you can't see it well on the screen, showing which hospitals had been highlighted to be part of the scheme and which ones were not, and which ones were going to be prioritized because of this concrete problem. We see in this list, there was a list of different waves through whether we're going to be prioritizing which hospitals. And so Shotley Bridge Community Hospital in Consett is in Table 2, Wave 1, which you can see in the report, to start construction between 2025 and 2030. And as we saw with my photos at the start of the segment, they are starting to look at the land underneath it. I went to also take some photos of the existing Shotley Bridge Community Hospital in Consett. These are my photos. You can't really see the signs because the trees and the bushes haven't been trimmed too well, but that's the sign to the entrance to the hospital. The outside of the hospital, I didn't go inside. I didn't want to draw any attention to myself, but that's the outside of the hospital. Still looks like it's in place, but they say it's leaky and the heating needs fixed. Apparently that's the problem. And there's a sign here of the different services that they offer. There are some people in the community who, from what I've heard, are concerned that some of these services will be going away. The new hospital, even though it's meant to cost about £500 million to build, I believe, is only going to have 16 beds in it. And so they're concerned that because of the size of the community that it serves, there will be a decrease in services. And I want to also highlight here the BBC reporting of the process of this hospital over time, where there was a lot of back and forth about what was going to happen. So first we see here September 2023, the replacement is going to be delayed. They talk about issues with funding, issues with resources. October 2023, I've got several links here to, these are all BBC articles, many millions of pounds over budget, a hospital plan reviewed over spiraling costs. This was in September 2024, just reading the headlines here. There was a home scheme that was put on hold as the new hospital has been put under review, where they were talking about building homes for elderly people, calling it a health village. It sounds a little bit concerning, to be built next to this new hospital. November 2024, again, new hospital project will never happen. So we are hearing from Labour and Lib Dems essentially at this point, worrying about what's happening. And now in January 2025, the build is to go ahead following a review. And that's the most recent from the BBC. We have a quote from Wes Streeting, who actually came out to see the new site in Consett. So if we could put that up on the screen, if we have it. Here he was saying, we have secured the funding, producing a realistic timetable with spades in the ground for a new hospital site in Consett in 2026, 2027. It was great to see the site myself and hear from Labour councillors how important the investment will be to regenerating Consett. Labour will deliver this new hospital building so patients in Consett get the care they deserve. Now, originally, when they reported on their report regarding what they were going to do or not do, they criticized the Conservative government for not putting enough money in place. And then, but as we've seen here, there's been off and on and off and on. So now they're saying they're going to do it. The local MP called Liz Twist, who's Labour for Blayton and Consett, said when Wes visited the site a few months ago, she said, having the health secretary here is a clear indication that Labour is delivering for Consett and the surrounding communities. The new site will have state-of-the-art facilities and much improved transport links. I'm keen to keep working with all the relevant stakeholders to ensure this project is built and delivered within the time frame and to improve healthcare within our communities. So the local magazine called Consett Magazine covered this as well. So they were showing when they came out to visit and basically saying, well, all right, this is what's happening. And so now we'll just wait to see what happens, Brian. I don't know if it will get built or not or how much it will cost, but this is happening around the country. So check your local areas if you're in England to see what's going on with your hospital.
Diane, thank you very much for that report. Well, the words are there, aren't they? It's always jam tomorrow, utopia tomorrow, everything will be okay tomorrow. But what we constantly see is that when tomorrow comes, there's more of the shambles. So I have no confidence in what is happening here. And I think the chaos that you are seeing is part of the overall chaos to destroy the NHS as this massive privatisation comes